Today I'm answering your questions. Okay, questions you left me on some of my latest videos. I gathered the best ones and decided to make this video. And if everything goes well and you like this type of video, let me know down below and I'll make sure I'll make more of these. Okay, now let's jump on the first question. This one is from David. David says, in the past you used a PC and a lot of components were selected to make the computer as silent as possible. Is your MacBook Pro M1 as quiet as your older computer? Yes, a few years ago I decided to build myself a PC computer and make it as quiet as possible. I made a full video on this one. I'm going to leave the link down below if you want to watch it. And to be honest with you, it worked pretty well. That computer was very, very quiet and served me well for some time, which was great. But at some point when I made my move to my new home, I decided to buy a laptop instead. I always was attracted to work on a laptop for several reasons, like portability, flexibility, and all that stuff, But to use a laptop as my main computer, I needed to go with something that is solid, strong, that will last for long. So that's why I decided to go with the MacBook Pro M1 at the time. Now these days, I think they just came out with the M4 processor for the MacBook Pro, so it's even more powerful than the one that I have right now. Now, when it comes to the noise that it generates, because let's face it, there's fans inside the laptop, so at some point the fans are going to start up, and start running, which was a concern for me, when I first jumped on this laptop at the time. Because I know that sometimes a laptop can be very quiet at the beginning, but after sometimes at some point the fans are going to start way more quicker than when it's brand new. And that happens with older laptops that I worked with. But this time around, now it's been more than 2.5 years since I'm using this laptop as my main studio computer, and it's as quiet as it was when I first got it, So I'm still very, very pleased and impressed with the quality of this laptop, even after 2.5 years. The only time I'm going to hear the fans starting is when I'm exporting a full YouTube video using Adobe Premiere. And that's normal because it takes way more processing when exporting a video comparing to exporting or working with audio. But when I work in Cubase, recording, producing, mixing, mastering music, this laptop is very, very quiet. Same person, next question. Is the processor of the Mac M1 powerful enough for big production sessions with lots of plugins and bus processing? Now, the M1 version of the chip that I have is the M1 Max. Now, this one is the most powerful of the M1 version. And yes, again, after working with this laptop for the past 2.5 years, I've produced, mixed, mastered several projects using this laptop, and it never failed me. Always had enough processing to manage all the projects I work on, basically. So it is powerful enough, and now with the M4 chip, it's even more powerful. Next question, where do you store your library content for virtual instruments? In the same SSD drive than where your sessions are stored. So you just have to bring with you one SSD drive when you work outside the studio. For my work, I use several drives. Most of them are SSD drives, like this one right here. It's a little Samsung drives. It's a 2 terabyte drive that I use for all of my music production work, whether it's recording, mixing, mastering. So it's all in there. Client work, my own work, all goes into this little guy. I have also one SSD drive for my YouTube videos, another one for all of my online courses, so on and so forth. When it comes to virtual instrument libraries like complete string libraries and stuff like that, I decided to go with the Lacy hard drive, which is a portable drive. It's not an SSD drive, but it's a 7200 RPM drive, which is fast enough to manage all those sample libraries. And it's a 5 terabyte drive, and that's the reason why I decided to get this one instead of the SSD version, just because of the price. At this point in time, the same amount of terabyte that I have on this drive, it would cost me more than double the price to get the same amount of space using an SSD drive. So for the time being, this is what I'm using, but at some point I will use an SSD drive to store my sample libraries when prices are gonna go down. Okay, the next one. Hi Chris, I'm torn between the Odyssey MM500 and the Headphone version 2. So for you, between these two headphones, which one are you leaning more for mixing duties? Thank you. This is a tough question because I know these pair of headphones pretty well. I mixed and mastered music using these more than once, so I can definitely help you on that, giving you my take with the experience I have while working with these two pair of headphones. So first, both of them are like high-end type of mixing headphones, so they are not cheap. The Odyssey's MM500 will turn at around $1,700 US, and the Headphone version 2 at around $1,950 US, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, I'll check the price, let you know. Both sound very good, you know, as far as depth goes. It's like, you know, you get lots of detail working with these headphones, way more than what you'll get with cheaper pair of headphones. So on that end, when it comes to detail, depth and stuff, you know, they both sound amazing. So if I compare them as far as the tone goes, both will give you a very good bass response, but when it comes to the low end, I'm gonna have a more quicker rollout using the V2, the Head V2s, compared to the MM500. But both headphones will not give you a hyped low end and bass frequencies. When it comes to the low mids, these guys, the Head version 2, are amazing. The low mids will sound flat and very detailed. I was actually very impressed with the low mid sound on these headphones, and that will go straight flat until reaching 2K. You know, so the mid-range, the 2K mid-range region is also very detailed and pretty flat. When it comes to the high mids, the MM500 will sound way more forward compared to the Head V2, which are going to sound way more relaxed when it comes to the high mids. For the top end, a bit more detail on the top end using the MM500, a bit more smooth top end when it comes to the V2. So in general, the V2s will produce more of a warm tone compared to the MM500. But like I talked about in one of my latest videos, I do EQ these headphones to bring them more to my taste, which is great. When it comes to the stereo image, the MM500 are going to sound a bit more wide, I must say, compared to the Head V2, which are going to be a bit more a narrow kind of soundscape. But on the other hand, this will get a bit more closer to what we get with studio monitors as far as the stereo image goes. These headphones are both open back headphones. When it comes to the drivers, the MM500 has planar magnetic drivers, and the Headphone version 2 will use AMT, which is the air motion transformer drivers, which are both high quality drivers when it comes to mixing headphones. So when it comes to which one I lean towards the most, I'm gonna have to say that I do use the MM500 a bit more than the V2s because I mix with them like maybe for 70% of the mixing process time, on top of using my studio monitors, and I finish my mixes using the Head V2. But when it comes to mastering, I do like to use the Headphone V2. In the end, they are both great mixing headphones. It's a personal choice, especially when it comes to the type of tone you get with these headphones. So I hope that helps to make your choice to buy one of these. Let me know how that goes. The next question is about Cubase 14 that came out not too long ago. What is the difference between a MIDI part and a pattern part? Now, a pattern part is new to Cubase 14. So if you don't know what that is yet, I'm gonna urge you to watch my Cubase 14 video that I published a few weeks back. I'm gonna leave the link down below. So a pattern part compared to a MIDI part. A MIDI part will include a bunch of MIDI notes that will generate sounds from a virtual instrument. And the MIDI notes is what you're gonna use to create chords, melodies that will trigger that specific virtual instruments. And MIDI parts are also very flexible in Cubase. For example, you can alter the chords, the notes of a MIDI part using the chord track, for example. Okay, so it gives you that flexibility. Now, when it comes to the pattern part, these are designed to create more repeating rhythmic sequences, often used for drums, basically. And this is how it was designed in Cubase 14. Very, very cool to work with in pair with the drum machine in Cubase 14 to create some very nice drum loops in a very easy way. Okay? And the cool thing is that you can convert a pattern part into a MIDI part once you're done working with your rhythmic sequence. Okay, you can convert that into a MIDI part and move on. Okay, but you cannot convert a MIDI part into a pattern part. Okay, so this is important to know. So this is basically the main differences between a MIDI and a pattern part. So I hope that helps. Now the next question is about microphones. Chris, can you recommend a condenser microphone for around $300, which is as good or better sounding than the AKG 414 or the SE Electronic 4400, mainly used for vocals and acoustic guitars? So when it comes to high quality condenser microphones below $300, I have three in mind right now. The first one on my list is the Rode NT1. This is a great microphone. It goes out at around $269 US and maybe cheaper in some stores, so something to check out. Great microphone, works well on vocals, all sorts of acoustic instruments. It has been used for so many years. A lot of new engineers, new home studio owners will lean towards this great microphone. It's a minimalist type of microphone, but it performs very, very well. So this is the Rode NT1. The second on my list is the Audio-Technica AT2035. Also sounds great on vocals and acoustic guitars and all sorts of acoustic instruments. And this one goes out at $149 US. And another very good microphone for the price is the Lewitt LCT440 Pure. This is a great microphone. And this one goes out at a bit less than $200 US. This one also sounds great on vocals, on acoustic guitars, all sorts of different acoustic instruments, but it's also known for its brighter and detailed sound. Okay, so if you're looking for something a bit more detailed than the other options, maybe the 440 Pure by Lewitt Microphones is going to be a good choice. Now, are these options are going to sound as equally the same as an AKG 414? I don't think so. I think every microphone will have its own color. Okay, the 414 is more expensive, probably a more high quality build, you know, which also influenced the price. It's not always about the sound, it's also about the build. But honestly, you will not be disappointed with any of these choices. Okay, I'm gonna leave the links down below if you want to check them out. Now, I listed these three microphones off my list, but if you want to add more microphones within the same price range to the list, you can just write everything down below. Okay, now the next question. This one is in relation to my studio tour video that I released not too long ago. And it says, "Nice setup, Chris. How important do you think the outboard gear is? Basically, could you use your DAW without them?" My response is yes, I can, for sure. And when it comes to mixing, I think anyone who takes mixing seriously should be able to mix a full song using only Cubase or your DAW's plugins, okay? Only stock plugins, basically. And I actually designed a full course on mixing using stock plugins by using only plugins part of Cubase. Okay, I'm gonna leave the link down below if you want to check it out. And this one is the Ultimate Cubase Mixing Masterclass. And I only used Cubase plugins on purpose so we can focus more on the craft of mixing, developing the talent, you know, getting the right mindset, the right reflex when mixing, than only relying on fancy plugins, which are also great. Now, I don't want to make this video about you know, stock plugins versus paid plugins or plugins versus gear. You know, I think when it comes to gear or paid plugins, or even stock plugins for that matter, it's a personal choice, okay? There's pros and cons, and I could actually make a full video on that when it comes to working with outboard gear. Let me know if you want me to make a video on that. I can share my experience working with the gear. So there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this, okay? But something I can say though, is it doesn't matter how much gear you have. If you don't know how to use the gear, it's useless. Or if you don't know how to use the fancy plugins, they are useless. They are not going to make your mix sound better unless you know how to use them. You know, making the right mixing decisions to make your mixing way better. Okay, so that is a completely different story. So gear, plugins, we can debate all night long, but it all comes down to one simple thing: the mixing decisions you make, whether you use gear or not. And I'm also gonna add that when you see this gear on my side, you always think of, okay, he mixes with outboard gear. Yeah, this is only part of it, but I also use this gear for recording purposes, which is awesome. Next, Richard is asking a question about EQing headphones. Hey, kind of a dumb question, but here it goes because I can find the answer anywhere. Do you put this EQ on the master while mixing? And second dumb question, do you bounce the mix with this EQ on or bypassed? I actually made a follow-up video to my headphone EQ video that I'm gonna link down below that answers all of these questions. But in a nutshell, no, I don't bounce that EQ with my mix. This is only an EQ for reference purposes. Okay, so I have that EQ straight into the insert slots of the control room. If you don't have the control room or Cubase, you can add this EQ on your master output while you mix, but you bypass that EQ when bouncing because you don't want this EQ to be part of your sound. This is only an EQ you add on your headphones, for reference purposes. That's it. It's only the way you hear the sound of your headphones. Nobody else is going to hear that. Okay, so that's why you need to bypass that EQ every time you bounce a mix. All right, so I hope that helps. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Share, like, and subscribe if you did. And also leave your questions because I'm going to compile a bunch of new questions for my next Q&A video that I'm going to release sometime in the near future. Until next time, take care, my friend, and see you.